I have. I was down in New Orleans doing some reporting on the oil spill.
And that you were doing it on behalf of Common Ground, right? CommonGround.com. And how did that come about? What's the story?
Common Ground is a user society that EDR, Environmental Data Resources, has put out there for its users. And they were thinking, there's so much news out there that we can't really make use of or believe. They didn't know what to believe in the regular media, so they said, look, let's hire a journalist, send him to the Gulf, being me, and have him create content, go out, report on everything that's down there and happening, and send it back for us to share with our users.
I think it's a very cool thing.
It was an amazing idea, and I loved the thing just because it gave me some leeway in finding out what's going on down there myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really cool.
So, I mean, you went down there. What? I don't know much about journalism. What'd you do when you got down there?
Grabbed the rental, checked into the room, and hit Bourbon Street.
Nice. Well done. Were you like, I mean, I've watched CNN when the oil spill was the big news, and all the reporters are there on the beach picking up the globs of oil. And telling you, did you do any of that?
I tried to do some of that. The interesting thing is that when a news outlet goes to cover something, they go right to the spot of the crisis. So most of the news organizations that ran down to the Gulf went down to the bayous, went down to the estuaries. If you know anything about geography, New Orleans is 50 miles from the water. So you have to go 50 miles down this like podunk road to get all the way to the edge, and then the estuaries aren't hit by the oil right away because it had to travel 50 miles from out in the Gulf to get there. So you have all these news organizations with cameras waiting for the oil to come in. And what I was trying to do for Common Ground and for their members was go down, interview people about the remediation, about the cleaning. I'm using the big words because I spent time.
What?
I know. I spent time interviewing a Tulane toxicology professor.
Right.
And she led me through like how the oil gets dispersed and everything that environmental professionals know. And the best thing about being able to create content and having a journalism background is that I don't have to have a PhD in toxicology to understand what she's saying. I just have to know what questions the audience has. So by asking those, she was able to tell me about how the oil got scrubbed and dispersed naturally when it came out of the well at first, then how BP was using dispersants, and it was a great experience.
And so you created all this, you did videos?
I did video, I did audio, I did blogs, I did photos. I think I put up 400 photos on my Flickr feed.
Wow.
We did 4 or 5 videos, yeah.
What did you do to draw attention to what you were doing? Like, how did you get the word out that you were down there doing the citizen journalism?
The people at EDR were great about this because I was chosen in part because I know you guys, and when I tweet something, you guys sometimes mention it. But because I had some social media reach, they thought, let's get someone that has a journalism skill, but also a little reach within the social media realm. And by tweeting stuff out, other people would read it, and it would get going. As would happen, WBZ News around here, CBS around here, picked up some of my stuff, and they started running it, so it just turned into a snowball.
And so you mentioned your background in journalism. So we have a lot of people who don't have backgrounds in journalism doing essentially citizen journalism. What were some of the most important things from your journalism background that helped you do this stuff?
Knowing how to interview, really. That was the big thing. Just knowing how to sit there and let a subject explain stuff fully, not to interject my thoughts or my feelings into a story. So I'd ask a question and let them talk, let them fill the dead air. That's probably a journalist's best trick. If you're ever getting interviewed, don't fill the dead air. Just sit there. When you're done answering your question, just sit there, and as uncomfortable as it might be, let that dead air sit there. The reporter will ask another question eventually.
I'm so bad at that, dead air. I just keep talking.
Well, it's really uncomfortable if you're sitting there.
So then, has Common Ground shared with you any of the impacts that all this had? I mean, did it have any great boom in their readership?
We were using a bit.ly link to measure all hits and stuff like that, and it's brought in some new members there. It's had great impact as far as people seeing a different side of the oil spill, knowing a little bit more about the environmental impacts instead of just focusing on pelicans who might be covered with oil. I went down with the goal of trying to grab some tar balls and juggle them and get that on video, but I didn't find any. I mean, I saw some in bags on the cleanup crews and stuff like that, but I wasn't there when the first wave of the damage hit. I was down there to see, okay, what's the eventual
what's happening now
impact going to be.
Very cool. So You forgot to hold up the sign.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no. I'll hold up the sign. And so while I'm holding up the sign, I know that you prepared a marketing tip for a marketing takeaway.
What's the marketing
Well, of
takeaway
course.
for
this?
this story. So
Well,
what is
every
it?
time I'm on the show, I'm asked to do a lot of work. I don't know if Dan
No one
ever
else
has
is.
to
Actually,
do
I
any
only
work on
ask
the
you to
show.
do all the
Yeah.
work.
I play foosball to prepare,
Nice.
actually.
Get yourself excited.
The marketing takeaway, because we talk about going down there sort of on a shoestring. And I brought down a portable video camera, the audio recorder, my digital camera, and my laptop.
Yep.
And that was it. I'm not carrying the high-def camera or any
Right.
of that stuff. The marketing takeaway is to think like Nike. Just do it. Go down there and get the content, because the content will be the thing that draws readers. People want to know what the story is. And photos of beignets in New Orleans or photos of white sugar sand beaches down in Louisiana and Mississippi, people are interested about that, and they want to know because they haven't seen it, and they don't have maybe the opportunity to go down and do it. So
Don't be afraid.
yeah, don't be afraid.
I love it. I also think there's some great stories here that I hope you'll write about at some point about, you know, the death of the newspaper industry and people being afraid they're not going to get good journalism, and
Yeah.
other industries picking up journalists like you to go and do real reporting
Well,
in a different
it's
world.
really interesting because companies can do that for themselves. Brands can do that for themselves. Not to put a spin on things, because I was very explicit with the company that I'm not going to go down and be your PR agency.
Yep.
I'm going to go down and I'm going to report what I see. And that's what I did. That's what I've been doing for 21 years.
Right.
So if you're not afraid of what people are going to say, going back to Yelp,
Yeah.
being
Yeah,
afraid
exactly.
of someone out there using their name and starting a conversation out in the wild, if you're not afraid of what I might find, then it makes perfect sense for any brand.
I love it. Very good. So don't be afraid. Just do it.
Absolutely.